So, French, huh? Maybe you've just got bonjour down, or, maybe you're dreaming about debating philosophy in Paris. Wherever you are on that spectrum, this deep dive is for you.
Yeah, think of it as your person guide.
We've waded through a ton of resources, really practical, up-to-date stuff, to bring you some solid advice on learning French effectively.
Absolutely. The goal is pretty straightforward, really. We want to give you steps you can actually use.
Steps to make learning French work better for you, and maybe even be, dare I say, enjoyable.
Exactly. It doesn't matter if you're just starting or trying to get, really fluent.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Where does someone even, begin this whole French adventure?
Well, the very first thing, and it sounds simple, but it's crucial, is figuring out why. What's your reason for learning French? Your core motivation.
The why. Right. Is it like dreaming of traveling through France? Provence, maybe?
Could be. Or maybe it's work. Needing to talk to colleagues or clients in French.
Or connecting with family, maybe? Friends who speak it? Or, just for the sheer fun and challenge of it.
Precisely. And knowing that why, that deep reason, that's your fuel, honestly.
Fuel for when things get tricky.
Exactly. Because, let's face it, there will be tricky parts. Grappling with grammar, getting your tongue around the pronunciation. That core reason, your why, is what gives you the grit to push through those moments. It's foundational.
So, listeners, take a sec. Really think about it. What are your specific reasons? Hold on to that. Okay, so you got your why. What's next? How do you build on that?
And the next really powerful thing is to link your French learning to stuff you already love, your passions.
Ooh, I like the sound of that. So it doesn't feel like homework.
Exactly. Make it part of your fun. Like if you love cooking, dive into French cuisine, learn food words in French, watch French cooking shows online, maybe try reading recipes in French, obviously.
Okay, see? Or if you're a movie person.
Perfect example. Start watching French films. Original language, maybe English subtitles at first, then French subtitles, then maybe none.
You'd pick up loads of everyday phrases that way, wouldn't you?
Totally. And you get the rhythm, the sound of it, plus great movies. It just weaves the language into your life, makes it something you actually want to do.
Right, making it authentic for you. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Now, what about immersion? You hear that word a lot. How do you get immersed if you're not, living in Lyon?
Yeah, immersion. It's key for steady progress. And you can create a sort of French bubble around yourself, even at home.
Oh, give some practical tips.
Okay, well, start simple. Listen to French music. Find some artists you actually like. Check out French podcasts. Whatever topics you're into, there's probably a French podcast about it. Online radio works too.
And I've heard people mention changing their phone language.
Yep, that's a good one. Phone, social media. Switch the settings to French. It's like this constant low-level exposure.
So all this listening and passive stuff, it helps your ear tune in.
Definitely. Your brain starts getting used to the sounds, the intonation, and you begin to pick up vocabulary more naturally just from hearing it used.
Okay, makes sense, like soaking it in. But just listening isn't enough, is it? Eventually you got to talk.
You absolutely have to talk. Speaking is, well, non-negotiable, but that's often where the fear kicks in, right?
Oh, yeah. The fear of making mistakes. It's huge for a lot of people.
It really is. But the key is to kind of reframe how you think about mistakes. See them not as failures, but as data points, feedback, proof you're trying. They're actually essential for getting better.
So embrace the mistakes. Easier said than done sometimes.
It is. But you have to actively look for chances to speak. Find a language exchange partner, maybe online, or join a conversation group if there's one nearby.
What about lessons, like with a teacher?
That's a great option too. A good tutor gives you structure, feedback, and helps build confidence. The point is, find ways to open your mouth and use the French, even if it feels awkward at first.
Take the plunge. Okay. Now, what about all those language apps? Duolingo, Babbel, that kind of thing. Where do they fit in?
Good question. Apps like those, they can be really useful starting points, especially for building basic vocabulary, getting a handle on simple grammar.
So they're good for getting your feet wet.
Yeah, kind of like laying down some basic tracks. They give you structure, which is helpful.
But they're not the whole story.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
It's interesting. They work best when you use them alongside other things. Think of them as one tool in your toolbox.
So don't just rely on the app.
Please don't. Mix it up. Use textbooks, do exercises, watch videos, movies, read books, and crucially, talk to actual people, native speakers if possible. That combination gives you a much richer, more well-rounded skill set.
Right, a blend. Speaking of blending, how do you balance learning the rules, grammar, conjugations with understanding how people actually talk?
That's a really key balance to strike. You need the foundation, the grammar rules, sure. They give you the structure.
Yeah.
But then you also really need to tune into real spoken French. Pay attention when you listen. Not just the words, but the idioms, the little expressions people use, the rhythm, the intonation.
Because knowing the textbook definition isn't the same as understanding someone on the street.
Exactly. You could ace a grammar test, but be totally lost in a real conversation.
So how do you get that real-world exposure? Again, if you're not there.
Well, full immersion is ideal, obviously. Nothing beats being surrounded by it. But you can get pretty far remotely. Watch French movies, TV shows, YouTube blogs, listen to those podcasts we mentioned. Anything authentic. It gives you that feel for the living language.
Okay, makes sense. Now, staying on track, seeing progress, that can be tough. How do you manage that? Keep motivated.
Yeah, motivation can ebb and flow. That's where setting clear goals helps. Specifically, SMART goals.
SMART goals. Okay, break that down for us. What does SMART stand for?
Right. It's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
Okay.
So instead of a vague goal like, I want to learn French, which is like, where do you even start? Right? Too big. Unwieldy.
Exactly. A SMART goal would be something like, I want to be able to hold a simple 15-minute conversation in French about my hobbies within 3 months. See the difference?
Yeah, totally. It's specific, simple conversation, hobbies, measurable 15 minutes, achievable sounds possible in 3 months with effort, relevant if conversation is your goal, and time-bound 3 months.
Precisely. That framework gives you something concrete to aim for and track against. It makes progress feel real. So listeners, think. How can you make your French goals SMART?
That clarity is really powerful, isn't it?
Right.
Okay, one last area we wanted to touch on specifically for adult learners. Is the approach different?
It often is, yes. Adults usually bring different things to the table, life experience, maybe some learning anxieties, but also often very practical needs. So for adults, linking the learning directly to those immediate real-world needs can be super effective. It boosts motivation like crazy.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Let's say you have French-speaking relatives you want to connect with better.
Then you'd focus your learning on the kinds of vocabulary and phrases you'd actually use in those family chats. Or if you need French for work.
Right. Learn the jargon for your industry.
Exactly. Learn the specific terms, the emails, the presentation phrases relevant to your job. When the learning immediately solves a problem or fills a need you have right now, it just sticks so much better.
It makes it directly useful, not just an abstract exercise. That makes total sense for keeping adults engaged.
It really does.
Wow, okay. So wrapping this up, it's clear learning French is, well, it's a journey, right? Ups and downs.
Absolutely. There will be joys, moments of breakthrough, and definitely some challenges too. The key is patience. Be kind to yourself.
And celebrate the small wins.
Definitely. Acknowledge your progress, however small it feels. And try to actually, enjoy the process of discovering this amazing language.
That's great advice. Okay, so here's a final thought for everyone listening. Think about just one thing we talked about today. Maybe it's nailing down your why. Maybe it's adding some French music to your commute, setting one SMART goal, or finding a French recipe to try. Just pick one and then think. How are you going to specifically work that one thing into your French learning like this week? What's one small step you can take? That could be your next move.